at a milestone. Well, soon will be. Yeah. So that's, I believe, according to some people online that know more about this than I do, that's 24 minutes away. So each one of the ticks is 12 minutes. So we're getting close. So I got this guy out again, and I've been digging. This is probably actually 30 or 45 minutes of work. It doesn't look like a lot, even considering the fact that, I mean, that hole right there and kind of the removal of that, that's like a week of work. But we don't have the huge rocks over here. And even right here, we don't. This whole area right here, it was actually much higher. In fact, this area back here was pretty flat. It's uphill now pretty good because I didn't know what I was doing, and I just came back here and started Miley Cyrusing pretty much everything I could with my wrecking ball here. And I managed to home in on these massive rocks that were almost certainly at this point, I believe, laid here by whoever was building my house back when it wasn't my house yet. And I think that they probably flat topped an area of hill here and cut up bedrock and maybe even brought in some rocks to do the front of my house, because the front of my house is very, very thick rock that has been cut flat on one side, I think, maybe two. I haven't really dug in my walls that much, at least in the front of the house. And I think what they did is they were like, well, we could haul the rock back, or we could just lay it kind of nice out here and make a real cool looking patio. Well, one of those things happened. We have this flat rock back here that was very level, and then somebody came in and put about a foot to 18 inches of dirt on it, and then came back later and put like a chopped up garage door on it. And I don't know if you can hear the humor that I'm having with that. And then they laid D1 gravel, which you can see here and there. I've dug a lot of that up, not necessarily digging, but just running it over with the tractor. Anyway, so they put a bunch of D1 gravel, which I've reclaimed as much as I can of down here, really. And that's not that much. But over here, there doesn't seem to be those big rocks that, probably are coming close to, and in some cases exceeding 1,000 pounds or more. Instead, we have the atypical soil out here, which is fairly good sized chunks of rock interspersed with fairly new dirt. And most of this dirt, I'm going to want to say, started life as leaves on one of these trees, and it breaks down pretty quickly in the leaf litter out here. We have lots of ant species that are actually like of a carpenter type variety, and I think they are tearing up the leaf litter before we had the house and stuff here, and I think I've actually displaced them quite a bit, especially with the chickens, which do not mind eating the larvae, although I'm under the impression that the ants themselves don't taste good. But their babies are very tasty, apparently, and my baby chickens will go after them. But either way, I've dug myself a nice little punji pit here so that when we go to work on this thing later, we have to overcome not only the fact that it's a certain height and over a fence, but also the fact that there's going to be a hole here. I'm not sure if I'm going to cut sticks into a sharpened fashion and place them in the hole or not, but I did realize that I've pretty much either I need to remove this rock, which I kind of don't want to do, I need to refill in my hole with something that isn't rocky, or I need to start coming in from down there, and then that means I need to find a new area to work because I can't just dig up this area that I'm driving on here, and this is proving slightly resistant to digging as well. So that one kind of I have a cool down on. But honestly, I'm really just trying to connect the dots with the trees here. So this one's pretty close. I do need to dig this hillside back a little bit, and then I'm guessing I'll concrete a wall in there, and then this whole area is going to get dug down, and the pond project will continue until morale improves. And it's actually really easy to dig right here. I did have to remove a tree, but it was, in my defense, it was calling me names. Um, this tree is probably going to get cut back a little bit, but only because I backed into it and it whipped me like right in the mouth with those nice thin branches, and that was fun. This thing used to come down a lot farther, but it kept whipping me in the back of the head. Same thing there. So actually, this tree is pretty good. Um, the knee-jerk reaction was, for at least my brother, was to let's chop this limb off, and of course that's not going to happen. I think I would actually probably try to nail that thing back together if it fell anyway, because I think it's pretty. And I have a feeling that if I built this pond and it had that nice limb over the top of it, and some neat little waterfall and a fairly deep pond with a relatively easy maintenance cycle, which I'm going to try to accomplish by putting a sewer drain in this thing that empties down my hill and stays on my property as long as possible. I think that's going to improve the sell value of my house greatly, especially with nice oak trees. Everybody likes oak trees. Um, so, yeah. So kind of looking at this. So we want the pond to come out here, come as close to that tree as possible, which I think is actually this little notch that I've cut here. So that's probably the end of it. I would like it to come out there as far as possible. My driveway is out there, and it's probably not too obvious because I'm looking at the screen on here. It's a pretty good distance between this rock, which I want to kind of be the edge if I can, because it's getting really close to that fence. And even though that fence isn't super long for this world, that's kind of the end of where I would like to take a pond, because it starts going downhill very quickly from there. So maybe kind of curve out like this, come pretty close to all the stuff here that's going to disappear. Not I don't want it to undermine the structural integrity of that tree and its ability to stay alive and in the exact shape that it's in, so probably not too close to that tree. And then we're going to come up to that thing. This tree I'd like to keep too. It's not an oak, neither is that, and neither is that, or any of this little brush right here, but they are purple robe locusts, which are really pretty. They're not pretty for very long. They're a native plant, so obviously, they're not going to be beautiful, but they do have a very showy purple flower clusters in the springtime. So I'll probably get that on video when it does happen. They're very, very pretty. And then they kind of look like an oak tree for most of the rest of the year, except for they're kind of straight growing and they're prone to being kind of bushy when they're young. And then I want to bring this out here, and I probably got closer to the goat house than I'd like to get. And there will probably be either some rocks or some concrete involved in making sure that the goat house doesn't disappear. And then, of course, I am thinking concrete for the bottom of this pond. I don't want, to put, I don't even know how many gallons this thing is. It's probably, as far as like cubic yards, I would guess that I'm aiming for 30 to 50. So that's quite a few gallons of water, and it's a lot of weight. I don't want it to push out from there and then take this shed that I've put a lot of man hours, if not a lot of money, into, and just roll that sucker down the hill, rip apart the plumbing that I've got laid down here that I need to kind of cover up with concrete as well, probably. And then just, devoid my water well of water and turn into a tsunami that I will get sued for, because it'll eventually make it onto somebody else's land and probably bring a shed with it. That'd be a pretty cool tidal wave to see, though. I mean, I own quite a bit of that down there, but if it's not very dry in the middle of summer, it might make it to somebody else's property. So, yeah. I do have this, though, now. That's a pretty good hole for 30 to 45 minutes of work. Pretty proud of it, anyway. I think I might be able to get this last bucket full, because it digs down and then it starts to go up in little steps there. If I get that last little step. Ooh, I think I found a splinter. That's pretty cool. Yeah, if I get rid of that last little step, I think it'll be pretty good, and we can call it a day.